everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet this cute beginner school spirit scarf. This is a wonderful project for someone who goes to school and maybe has school colors or is on a sports team and you want to give them a special gift to represent their school. Also, you can make this if you're a fan of a team or something like that. And this is also, because we're going to be using really simple stitches, this is also a wonderful first project for someone learning how to crochet. In fact, when we do the tutorial part, I'm going to go nice and slow and show you how to make all the basic stitches. So I have one here that I used burgundy and gold for my finished scarf, and it's kind of also channeling kind of a Harry Potter vibe as a side note. But you can use lots of other colors. This is kind of like a royal blue and gold. This is like a classic red and blue. So you can really choose lots of different colors. And we're using Red Heart Super Saver, which comes in tons and tons of colors, and it's machine washable. So this is a great candidate for this project. Now, on that note, let's talk about some of the striping options. I made some samples here to kind of show you the different types of striping you can do. Now in the tutorial later on, we're going to do one of each color because I'm going to show you how to switch colors as well. But here I have, this one is 6 rows of each color and that yields chunky stripes. This one I did 6 rows of one color, 2 rows of the second color, 2 rows of the first color here, and then 2 more rows of the second color. And that gives you like a chunky main color and then some almost like pinstripes. And then this one, we just did 1 row of each color if you want shorter stripes. So you can really do lots of other things. If you hop on over to the Flux blog as well, I'm going to be breaking down the 3 different stitch, or rather stripe options that you can do, but also feel free to get creative and make your own striping as well. Okay, so as far as sizing goes, the finished piece that I made here measures about 9 inches wide, and mine came out to be about 70 inches long. Now you can really make just as many rows as you need to get the length that you like, depending on how you want to wear it. Some people like to just wrap it once around the neck. Some people like to wrap it lots of times, so you'll need to make it longer if you'd like to do that. If you're making this for a child, obviously you'll want to make yours a little bit shorter. Or if you're making it for someone very tall, you want to make it longer. Now, I like to follow a general guideline where I go start at the hip, go around the neck to the other side and back down to the hip. That'll kind of give you a rough measurement. And you'll want to add a little bit of length if they like to wrap it around the neck a few times as well. So let's get started. For this project, you'll need a 6.5 millimeter K crochet hook. You'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle. A ruler or tape measure is super helpful to get the correct length of your scarf that you're after, and your yarn. So the yarn we're going to be using is Red Heart Super Saver, and I chose this yarn because it is readily available in a lot of places. If you can't find it where you live, I'll provide the link down below for the Red Heart site. Now Super Saver in particular comes in tons and tons of colors. It's machine washable, and you can more than likely find your school colors or team colors or what have you. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be using the blue, and this is called gold, and we're going to be making a striped scarf. Now earlier in the video, I showed you some other color combinations and some other striping options. We're going to be doing the striping option where it's every row is a different color. I showed you some thin stripes, some chunky stripes, some alternating widths of stripes. So you can really choose whatever striping option you like, but we're going to do every other row so I can show you how to change colors as well. Now I also wanted to mention that that Red Heart also has some team yarn where it's like variegated team colors. So feel free to experiment with different yarn. Now I also wanted to mention, if you need to substitute yarn, just look for a 4 on the yarn weight scale and a yarn that recommends a 5.5 millimeter I crochet hook. Now as a side note, if you remember, we're going to be using the 6.5 millimeter K crochet hook. We're just going to go up a little bit in the hook size to give a little drape and openness to our scarf. And also for beginners, I found when I was learning, using a little bit larger hook helped me to see everything, and it helped a lot to hold and everything. So I thought that the K hook would be a great hook to use for this. So let's slide the gold out of the way. We're going to start with the blue. Now what you're going to do, because this is a beginner scarf, I'm going to go nice and slow so that you can keep up. Now for our seasoned crocheters out there, feel free to speed up the video or skip around as you need. And if you're just starting out with crochet, you can always back up the video as many times as you need. And there's also a slow motion feature. You can slow down the video as well, okay? So what we're going to do is put a slip knot on our hook first. So grab the first color you'll be using and take the yarn, have a little tail come down the front, wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop, bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up the loop and tighten. We now have a slip knot on our hook. Our scarf has a starting chain of 26. Now there's no specific stitch count. You can really use any stitch count you like to make your scarf wide or narrow. You could make a team color blanket or a shawl or whatever you like. So there's no real multiple or stitch count for this. Okay, so we're going to do a starting chain of 26 though. So to make a chain, and let me just zoom in a tiny bit so you can see. So to make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to pick up speed a little bit. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. So here is our starting chain, and I wanted to just give you a tip. A lot of times when people are learning how to crochet, this starting chain can be a little bit tight because when you're new, sometimes your hands feel a little bit more tense and you're trying to hold everything and manipulate the yarn, and the starting chain can be a little tight rather. You can go up a hook size for just the starting chain if you're having that trouble, then go back down to the K hook to finish off your scarf for the rest of the project. Okay, so for row 1, what we're going to do is work a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So this loop here does not count. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. So to make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into the chain, bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. Okay, so you can see our double crochet. We're going to do the same thing in the next chain. So we're going to go through this next one slowly again, and then we'll pick up a little bit of speed as we work across the row. So the next chain here, we're going to work a double crochet. We're going to work a double crochet in every chain across, just so you know. So wrap yarn around hook, insert it into that next chain, bring up a loop, 3 loops are on your hook, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops, okay? Work a double crochet into the next chain, work a double crochet into the next chain. Again, if you need to see this slowly again, just back up the video a little bit. Double crochet into the next chain, double crochet into the next chain, next chain, working a double crochet in every chain across. Now let me just get a little bit more yarn. And I wanted to also mention these center pull skeins of yarn are so nice to have. Everything just stays nice and neat while you work. Okay, double crochet into the next chain, double crochet into the next chain. Now those of you who have crocheted before, like I said, just feel free to skip around if you need to. And if you're not into doing the same striping sequence we're doing for this tutorial, earlier on in the video, I talked a little bit about some of the other striping options that you can do as well. Okay, so we're going to stick with the blue for this row, but next row we're going to switch to the gold. So also, I'm curious to see what school colors and team colors you'll be choosing, so share below what your colors are that you'll be using. And this is a great project too. You could work on with your teammates, some classmates, You can work on this if you're teaching someone how to crochet. This is a great beginner project. Okay, so we're coming up. This is the last chain. Just work a double crochet into that last chain. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to switch colors now. If you don't want to switch colors yet, just don't cut the yarn yet. Just stay put and hang out with me for 1 second. But if you want to switch colors, go ahead and cut the yarn and fasten off. Just like that. And then you can grab your second color, which for me is going to be the gold. And then see where we tied this off? You're going to have a loop on the end there. That's the last stitch you worked. So insert your hook into that last stitch worked. Bring the new yarn through. You can kind of hook it onto your hook. Bring that new yarn through and tie it right on. Now, if you have a preferred way you like to join yarn, please feel free to do that. There's lots of different ways to join a new yarn onto a project. Definitely feel free to do that. Also, not to get too complicated, but instead of cutting this yarn, you can carry the yarn up the side. If you'd like to see a separate tutorial on how to carry yarn up the side of a project, let me know in the comments and I can do a tutorial on that as well. But for right now, to keep things nice and simple, we're just going to simply cut the yarn and tie it on. Okay, so reinsert your hook back into that last stitch worked, bring up a loop, and then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So we're beginning row 2 at this point. So turn your work. Now this chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So we're going to not work back into that stitch. We've already done that stitch. So locate the next stitch. Now, if you're not familiar with how stitches look, the posts here, this is called a post, that column-like stitch where we did our double crochet, that's the column. And then at the top, you can see there's a little loop. That's the top of the stitch. So into this stitch, we're going to work a double crochet, just like that, and work a double crochet into the next stitch. Whoops, double crochet into the next stitch. And we're just going to do this all the way across. And this is basically how you make the entire scarf. We're just going to be repeating row 2 for the entire scarf. The only thing you'll change is striping. Now, as you can see, if you don't want to change colors as often as I'm doing, you can make your stripes much chunkier. So that way you can kind of stick with one color for a little while. And as a side note, the less often you switch colors, the less ends that you'll have to weave in as well. Okay, so just working a double crochet in every stitch all the way across, just like that. Okay, and already it looks very team colors like. Now you could do whatever your colors are. I would almost be 100% sure that there is a super saver color for that. There's a million billion super saver colors. Whoops. Let's do that one again. If you ever make a stitch and it doesn't look exactly how you like it, or if you drop it like I just did, don't worry, just go back and redo it. Okay, so see this last post here at the top is our last stitch of the row, but we also had that turning chain. So in the turning chain, the top of the turning chain, you're going to see there's a couple chains, like 3, 1, 2, 3. At the top of that turning chain, the topmost chain, work a double crochet right into that as well. If you skip that part, you'll start getting narrow. Okay, so all you want to do from this point forward is just repeat row 2 over and over and over again until your project is as long as you would like it to be. Now, some guidelines for scarves that I like to follow is generally you can go from hip to hip. So start at the hip, go around the back of the neck and back down to the other hip. Now, if you want to wrap this scarf a couple times around your neck, you want to make it a little bit longer, obviously. Sometimes you like to double up around the neck for some extra warmth. But for your scarf, just keep repeating row 2 over and over and over until your scarf is as long as you'd like it to be. So let's pretend we're done our scarf. This is a little miniature scarf we have now. Now I just cut the yarn and we're going to fasten off. So you just wrap the yarn around the hook and just pull it through. And then you can grab your tapestry needle and then just Let's do this yellow end here. So just thread the tapestry needle. And then you're going to weave it into, if you have a gold tail, you're going to weave it into the gold section. So just go in one direction through the middle of the stitches and pull through, and then come back in the other direction and pull through, and then grab your scissors and you can just give it a little trim. Now when you deal with all of these other ends here, you want to keep the blue tail in the blue section and so forth. So that's it. That's how you crochet the beginner school spirit scarf. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.